Hi, I'm Andrew W.K.
And I'm Alice Cooper.
And you're watching Noisey back
and forth. Maybe fifth. There was a bunch of bands that came out of Ann Arbor. That was the best rock scene, I think, in the world. At that time, 68 to 72, the Detroit rock scene was pure hard rock. It was the MC5, the Stooges, we were there, Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, Bob Seger. The list goes on, of great rock bands. And if you were a soft rock band, they would just kill you.
And it just became understood that, okay, well, if you perform, you go completely crazy. I mean, you give every bit of energy you have. If you're gonna play a song or make any kind of sound, you make it as intense, even if it's intensely quiet, even if it's just, that it wasn't about a pleasing experience or sedate.
It was a lot of anger in it.
Yeah, a lot of anger.
So what would a teenage kid in a big city, where would he vent his anger? Certainly not the Carpenters.
No, that's soothing.
It would be heavy metal. That's where you get to go and get angry and feel good about it afterwards.
Yeah, transmute
So there's
it.
something good about the metal thing.
So I said the evilest music is, the people are always the nicest. The most angry sounding music I've always found to be made by the nicest people, including in that. And the most brutal, intense performers, it's so cathartic.
Absolutely.
It's like turning lead into gold.
That's absolutely true. I think there's something very primal about it and cleansing about it.
Yeah. Do you think of your work at this point as one total statement?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you still get, I don't want to say nervous, but that nervous energy before playing?
I wish.
I wish I could
relaxed? Get that. Well, I think that you get to a point where you get so confident in what you're doing. I know you would think that you'd get sick of Schools Out. You'd get sick of No More Mr. Nice Guy and all this. Rehearsing it, I go, I can't rehearse this song one more time. But you get on stage in front of 20,000 people and you hit that chord and the audience goes crazy, you can't possibly get sick of it. Mm-hmm. You can't possibly ever treat that song mellow. You've got to give it everything you got. And to me, that's been the reasons why we're still here, is the fact that we never back down. We were too weird for LA.
How is that possible? What do you think was in the ether that didn't make that match?
Everybody was groovy in LA. Alice Cooper was like this vaudeville freak show that we'd scare the hell out of people because they're all on acid. And when we came on, it was like uplighting, and it was like, you have to remember what we looked like back then. We started out with Out in the Street by The Who, and it was like Springtime for Hitler. The audience was, like that. In 2 songs, we cleared the building.
You've said some things that were very inspiring that I've turned to. You said you felt like you've gotten even to be a better performer over all the years, and that now you're performing even better than you did, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I think now that I'm doing my best shows now.
But
there were 2 Alices. There was the victim Alice when I was drinking.
Okay.
That I look at those videos now, and Alice was always slumped over, and he was society's whipping boy. And I said, okay, that's what I'll make him. I'll make him this. Everything happens to him, and everybody will relate to that. As soon as I quit drinking, I went, now Alice is this arrogant villain who really, is in charge of everything. So there's 2 distinct Alices. And there were songs back then that I wrote purely for shock value. I remember Ann Landers wrote this scathing article about Cold Ethel. And I wrote back and I said, Ann, if there's a big rash of necrophilia after this song, then I'll feel responsible. I said, but I think they get the joke. If you're not laughing at the end of that song, there's something really wrong, because it was written as a comedy song. Almost every one of my albums is a storyline. Then we start breaking it down. Okay, what would she say then? Well, she would say, Only Women Bleed. Okay, that's good. I'll write that song. I kind of let the story write the songs for me. But now it was still a more innocent time. It was all about how good is your band live. Records were sort of secondary. It was great to make a great record, but anybody could go in the studio and make a great record. Get a great producer, and you can overdub until you sound great. being great live was the whole deal. How good, you go and see the Who play back then with Keith Moon. Wow, see Paul Butterfield play, the Yardbirds, any of these bands. And if you weren't a great live band, you were done. Everybody challenged you. You better be a great band when you get on stage.
Was there a time when you didn't believe that being alive was good?
No, I don't think I've ever had a suicidal thought in my life. I've always thought that there's hope in everything, even when you're at your worst. And believe me, I got to a point where it was just me, a big rock of cocaine, a pipe, a gun, and me all by myself up in a big Hollywood mansion where everybody had left my life. And it was just me and that. And I went, is this what I worked for here? That's when I realized that how pointless that was. I didn't have one person on my side, and I finally got to a point of going smart enough to take the rock and flush it, and sleep for 4 days and then start my life over again. It's like, it's air to you. That drug ends up being air. Alcohol was like air to me. I couldn't picture my life without alcohol. Now, wait a minute, I gotta ask you something. Being a Michigan kid, do you think there's something about Michigan that is purely hard rock?
I think there's something about Southeast Michigan, because that's the only place I spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Now, with my background, I was too young for Stooges and MC5 and that, so I got a later wave that was just like wild.
Yeah.
Very, very wild, where the music, with no exaggeration, really sounded like...
Yeah. It was like white noise.
Yeah. And I was just completely enthralled, having come from piano lessons and a very traditional melodic understanding of music, to see people, I was seeing people sounding, looking, and living in a way that I had never imagined was even possible.
Yeah.
And I got completely hooked on that.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what I want to do. I want to be around that. I want to contribute to that. I want to have my mind blown.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's possible.
Yeah.
Thinking back to a time when I was in LA when I first started touring, probably around 2002. And after the show, I was talking with some folks who had attended, and they were very excited and very kind. And we started talking about music we liked. And you came up pretty quick. And this one young gentleman, who was probably actually close to my age at the time, maybe 22 or 23, he was talking about the Black Widow song. And I said, oh, there's a part in that song. And before I even finished saying it, he talked about that instrumental melodic breakdown, the do 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 do
Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting chills right now, actually. And to have someone else not only like that same part, but anticipated that was the part I was talking about, and to clearly connect with the musical aspect.
Yeah.
In a way that's hard to describe except singing it.
That's it.
That was one of the I'll never forget that moment.
Yeah.
And it was not just because of the song, it was just to understand that other people felt that way about music.
I'm 68 and I'm sitting there going, turn it up. Don't ever turn down.
Power.
Yeah, I want to hear that guitar. I want to hear
Oh.
3 guitars. I want to hear the big power chord. I want to hear all that. If that ever happens where I don't want to hear that, there's something wrong.